In this video, we'll be reviewing Unit 8 for Latin for Americans. In this unit, the third declension is introduced. The first we introduce masculine and feminine nouns of the third declension. They decline the same way. Notice that they have no distinct nominative singular, then the genitive is is, dative is I, em, e, and then for the plural it's ies, ibus, es, ibus. And again, for the third declension masculine and feminine, they decline the same way. When learning third declension nouns, it's important to learn their stem, which comes from the genitive singular. So let's review them. We have dux, which is the nominative singular, and then the genitive singular is ducus. The stem is duc, and again, this is masculine. You have homo, and the stem will become hominus. Then we have lex, then it becomes legis in the genitive singular, which is feminine, meaning law. Miles in the nominative singular becomes militus, masculine. Pax becomes pacus, feminine. Now this one's very tricky because it's solus, but it's solutus, and it's also feminine. And then pes, pedis, masculine. Rex, regis, masculine. So when you learn vocab now for the third declension, it becomes a little more difficult because there is no pattern for the genitive singular, and it's difficult when you need to memorize the gender. So here's a quick overview of the third declension endings. Again, the nominative has no distinctive ending. It could be anything. But the genitive is always is, dative is I, accusative is em, ablative is e, and es, ibus, es, ibus. And we'll see this, that the masculine, soldier, and the feminine, law, both decline the same way. Nominative singular is different. It doesn't have to be anything, it's unique, but then again it's is, I, em, e, es, ibus, es, and ibus. In this unit we also learned the irregular verb possum. Possum is a compound of sum and actually pot. However, when sum begins with the form of s, the pot assimilates to an s, so it's possum, possumus, and possunt. We will see this in the next slide. So notice here that it's just sum s est, sumus estis sunt for the present, but it's a compound, and you put pot in front of sum, except in the cases where sum begins with s, and you put pos. In the imperfect, it's eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant, except you put pot in front. Pot. And the future is the same. Ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritus, erunt. And again, put the pot in front. So for the perfect, it's potui from the third principal part, and then it's potueram and potuero for the future perfect, using the third principal part. Be careful distinguishing between the pluperfect and the imperfect. The pluperfect will have a u. The endings are the same, but there's a u in there that will distinguish it as pluperfect. Same with the future perfect and the future. The u will make this future perfect. Without the u, it's just simply future. Possum regularly takes a complementary infinitive, like I am able to discern, or notice in the sentence here, cannot be endured, literally is not able to be endured, and so it's taken with a complementary infinitive. Participles, and we know one participle, the perfect passive participle, which is the fourth principal part of a verb. When translating, you can use them as little clauses, and you can begin them with when, after, because, since, if, although, whatever conjunction makes the most sense. So the participle agrees with the noun it's describing in case, number, and gender. And so this is terrified, and this is ablative agent. By the wind, the sailors wanted to be left behind. So the sailors and terrified go together, and the participle, the phrase is terrified by the wind. Next one, captives who had been set free. So Publius asked about the captives, expeditus, having been set free. And you can translate this as who had been set free, or just asked about the freed captives. Here are a few examples of how to translate participles. I don't really care if you know what it's called, but just know how to translate it and figure out which sounds the best. So the first one is a relative. You can translate participles as relative clauses. He found the money which had been lost. Literally, he found the lost money. Temporal. After they have been called together, the boys will hear the words of the teacher. Literally, having been called together, the boys hear the words of the teacher. Or, once it has been read, I shall give the book to you. Or, I will give to you the read book. Causal. Because you were scared, they did not advance. Literally, having been scared, the men having been scared did not advance. Or the scared men did not advance is another way to translate that. An adversative is although we were scared, they did not flee. Literally, the men having been scared, or the scared men, did not flee. There's a special participle phrase that's translated called an ablative absolute, and that's where you have a noun and a participle agreeing in the ablative case. And the generic way to translate it is with the noun having been the participle. So here are some examples. So after the gate was closed, or literally with the gate having been closed, and again, it's a participle. Notice it's separated out by a comma. That's quite common. Next one, since the ships had been lost, or literally with the ships, the noun having been lost, the participle, Ulysses was unhappy. So you can expand the participle's literal meaning with when, once, since, after, because, if, although, to make it make more sense. You can always translate it literally, but this is when you get better at translation. You can be a little more poetic and take a little more license. When forms other than the perfect passive participle are used in the ablative absolute, the conversion to Latin is even easier. But sometimes you must supply the verb to be. So you must supply sum. So, for example here, Numa rege. That would be with Numa having been king. Or you can translate it when Numa was king. And again, populo libero can be translated with the people having been free, or if the people are free. Here's a review of the fourth conjugation principal parts. So you have audio, audere, audivi, auditus, and then you have convenio, convenio, convenere, conveni, conventurus. Notice the compounds, convenio and invenio, also follow the same pattern. So if you know the principal parts of venio, you know the principal parts of convenio and invenio. Here's a review of nouns. Now we have to be careful because we have to know the genitive singular. So it's duke, ducus, masculine. Lex, legis, feminine. Rex, regis, masculine. This is factum I neuter. Miles, militus, masculine. This one's a tricky one. Solus, salutus, feminine. Fuga, ae, feminine. Pax, pacus, feminine. Spatium, I neuter. Homo, hominis, masculine. Pes, pedis, masculine. Impedimentum, I neuter. And regnum, I neuter. Nothing special here with the adjectives. They're all Now looking at our verbs, I'll look at if there's any EOs, and we do have comoio and provideo. So these would be second conjugation. Then my IOs, my pedios, which is expedio and impedio, those would be fourth. I don't see any other IOs, so now I have to discern between first and third. So I'll go through my thirds. Aducos from duco, so that would be third. Anticetos from keto, that's also third. Kerno is third. Consulo is third. Primo is third. Relinquo is third. Traduco again from duco is third. Huerto is third. Wiwo is third. And then the rest of these guys ending in O are first. Clamo's first. Ligo's first. Rogo's first. Sto is first, even though the third principal part is steti, which is irregular. It's still first. Transporto's first from Porto, and Wolnero is first. Notice I left out possum, that's irregular. And then lastly, some adverbs. Fortasse, perhaps, and non-yam, no longer.